What's up, guys? Welcome back to more Reddit stories about Karens, crazy people, and anything else we find interesting. Hope you're all doing awesome, and as usual, we got some more Reddit posts to check out today, so be sure to share your thoughts about today's stories down in the comments, and let's get into it. Entitled Mom Thinks My Front Yard is an Event Center. I just got back from a 3-day work trip. I live in a quiet suburban neighborhood and take care of my front yard. It's landscaped, tidy, and very clean. The woman who lives across the street is somebody I have had very little interaction with beyond the occasional wave. As I pull into my driveway, I notice something strange. Balloons, folding chairs, decorations being set up on my lawn. Not in front of it, not beside it, in the center of my front lawn. I get out and walk over, trying to figure out if there's been some mistake, but it was the neighbor from across the street directing a couple of individuals where to place streamers. I walk up to her and say, "Hi, what's going on here?" She turns around completely unbothered and says, "Oh, it's my daughter's birthday party. The front of your house gets the best afternoon shade, and we needed more space." I just stood there like, what? I told her this is my lawn, and she didn't even ask. She acted like she was confused and was all, "Well, you don't have any event today, and it's only for a few hours. The kids need somewhere to play." I told her very plainly that she needed to remove everything from in front of my house and put it back in her own lawn. She actually rolled her eyes and was like, "Wow, some people just don't want kids to have fun. This is mean." Kids who opened my mail with money inside demanded a reward for returning it. I am 27 female, but I am pretty petite and could easily pass for like a high schooler. So I am home alone at my parents' place dog sitting, and I get back from walking the dog, and as soon as I close the door and lock it, I hear the ring cam doorbell go off and knocking, and I can see through their Alexa that it's 2 kids, probably middle school aged. They have a bike and scooter. I did not see them when I came back from the walk, so I don't know where they were waiting or where they even came from. They are just standing there, and so I'm thinking that they are trying to sell something or another, so I plan to just ignore them and focus on getting the dog resettled. Except now the dog is barking like crazy because she senses something by the door, and I can hear the kids say, "I just saw her go inside." They then say, "We found something of yours and it has money inside." So they are knocking like crazy and even start kicking the door. I figured that I'll just speak to them through the ring bell, so I say, without opening the door, "Hi, just leave it in the mailbox. I cannot open the door right now because my dog is not friendly." Which is true, but also, I have no idea if this is a scheme or if there's an adult in a car waiting for them, etc. My mind is going into all sorts of scenarios that could end horribly for me. After them standing there for 5 minutes, I can see through the cam that they put it in the mailbox and walk away slowly on their bike and scooter. About 2 minutes later, one of the kids comes back and puts his hood on, rings the doorbell, and I can see him put his hood on, and I say, "What's up?" through the ring cam. And he says, "My friend wants a reward." And I say, "Thank you for bringing back the mail, but there is no reward. Please leave." And the kid just stands there demanding a reward. So I say, "I have your faces. If you try to threaten me, I will call the cops." The kid then says, "Call the cops. I don't care. I returned your money. If I ever find something for your house again, I'm not returning it." He then walks away before giving me the finger. I am not looking to get these kids into any sort of trouble or anything because I think they were just being dumb, and they couldn't have been older than 14 or 15. What they returned ended up being an opened envelope. Don't know how they got it, if it was already ripped, or if they opened it, from my aunt that had a $20 bill in it. My aunt is old school like that. I've had my fair share of finding misplaced items in wallets, and I've never once demanded or even expected a reward. My friend wanted me to post their faces on the Nextdoor app and blast them, but I don't know. Private property is not public land. My husband and I live in a semi-rural area in the Texas Hill Country, and truly love it here. We built our dream home and over the years bought the lots, all undeveloped with beautiful trees, on our block, just to keep it natural, peaceful, and a happy haven for wildlife too. We've had to put up no trespassing and private property signs around the perimeter, unfortunately, because random people will just come traipsing through, quote, to see what they can find. If I catch someone again, I'm going to ask them for their address so I can wander around their yard to see what I can find and take. Recently, we were taking a walk on a nice cool morning, and there was a couple with their son, about 12 years old, walking ahead of us. As we were approaching our house, we saw the boy walk away onto our property, and the parents stopped to wait for him. He might have stepped off to pee, but I was still stunned at the audacity, especially going right past bright orange no trespassing signs. It was just next to our house where we have a flatbed trailer parked, so obviously this property is privately owned. My husband barked at them. This is private property. The parents were startled and quickly called their son back, apologizing. I have to admit that I chuckled a bit because my husband is 6'8" and can scare the crap out of people when he yells. It's just the entitlement that people seem to have to other people's property, especially in a rural area, that baffles me. Apartment maintenance staff came in last night at 2 a.m. No knock, no call. I woke up and pointed my legal gun at them. They called the police and want to file charges. North Carolina. I'm going to try to type this as emotionless and straightforward as possible as I'm still a little shaken. Last night at 2:30 a.m. I woke up to the sound of our dogs barking and the door opening. Our city is mildly dangerous and I'm licensed to carry, so I got my gun from under the bed and hid behind the door. I heard my dog whine and squeal loudly and then a male voice cursing. One of them opened the bedroom door and I came from behind it pointing the gun at them, and I started yelling, telling them to get out, with some cursing and threats involved, yes. And only then did they identify themselves as apartment maintenance staff. They had flashlights pointing in my face and I couldn't see their faces properly, so I told them to be quiet and stand by the door while I turned the lights on, while keeping the gun pointed at them. I turned the lights on and I don't recognize them. I've lived in the complex over a year and have never seen them, and have had maintenance come by at least 5 times while I was home. I call the apartment's 24/7 line and ask both the men to see their identification. They don't have on maintenance uniforms either, just sweatpants and t-shirts that were dark colored, while still keeping the gun in my hand but no longer pointed at them. They don't have any proper ID with the apartment management, say they don't give them that. They're there because there was a huge leak downstairs and they think it came from my bathroom. I don't really know what to do because the 24/7 line isn't picking up, so I tell my dogs to follow me. I grab my car keys and wait outside in my car for them to look at what they need to. I run into my downstairs neighbor who I talk to for a second and lets me borrow her leashes for my dogs, and I go back upstairs to apologize for the gun, but then about 5 squad cars come into the lot, pulling onto the grass and all. One of the officers gets out and points his weapon at me and tells me to drop what's in my hand and get on the ground, my dog's leashes. I do what he says, and then another officer searches and cuffs me, and leaves me against the wall of the building. I'm not stupid, and I know it's because the maintenance guys called the cops. I was standing next to my neighbor and they only looked at me, so clearly they had a description, because of the gun. I told them where my concealed carry permit is and where my ID is. Eventually they uncuff me and start telling me how what I did was assault. But I try to explain that they did not give me the required notice about maintenance, and even though her leak was major, it wasn't major enough to not bother knocking or ringing the doorbell and just walk in. An incident report was filed against me for assault with a deadly weapon, and they let the maintenance guys know I can be charged any time within the next few months or weeks. Didn't hear properly as I was listening in. And I started having a panic attack and throwing up, and they, maintenance, accuses me of faking it. Guys go back upstairs, lock me out of my own apartment, using my own door jammer, and when they're leaving and walking down the stairs I'm sitting on at 4 a.m., tell me they'll be pursuing the charges. Do I need to get a lawyer now or should I wait to see if they actually file the charges? Apartment management has been uncontactable and the office was closed before I left for work this morning. Update. Hey, I'm the OG poster. I left work early because I kept having anxiety attacks, and after talking to my boss, he told me I should go handle this promptly. I live in a major city, and one of my grad school friends is a lawyer now. I called her, and she raised hell for me, so thank all the higher powers for her. We went straight to the apartment management first, who did not authorize or tell them to go there at 2 a.m. Apparently, they're supposed to clear any emergency situation with the manager who lives on site before doing anything, and my visit this afternoon was the first she had ever even heard of the leak. She called in one of the maintenance guys and he told her he called before he entered, but called the wrong number. I asked to see his most recent calls list, and there was nothing besides his brother, the other maintenance guy, and 911 between the time they came to my apartment. My friend asked for their full names and we left. She was just searching to see if they were planning to sue for money instead of pressing charges because they made several comments about expensive items I had out in view, and she found one of their names on a sex offender registry for breaking and entering and the R word. She went back to the complex with this information. They say they weren't aware, that they won't be pursuing charges and the men will be terminated from work. My friend wants me to sue the apartment agency, but I am currently discussing ending my lease with the complex, and they've already changed my locks to a custom key only myself and the apartment manager will have. So yeah, I'm even more nervous now, and considering filing trespassing charges against the men, but I'd prefer just moving and trying to forget about this, because now I dislike interactions with police officers 10 times more than I already did. Damn OP, that's honestly terrifying, but also very aggravating. I mean, it does seem like the maintenance guys didn't actually have any bad intentions as far as I can tell, because I think that it was confirmed that the downstairs tenant called about a leak, so I guess they were just responding to that. But even if they didn't have bad intentions and were responding to a maintenance call, who the hell would just walk into an apartment at 2 a.m. without calling or even knocking? Any reasonable person would assume that someone is breaking in. And the maintenance guys are honestly lucky that the person in the apartment was OP instead of someone more trigger-happy, because that could have ended very badly for them. And finding out about the criminal background of one of these workers just makes this whole thing that much more unsettling. At least the apartment management did take this seriously and have fired them. Neighbor tried to sabotage our fence. Now he has no yard access. I live with my mom in a quiet neighborhood. She's the kind of person who waves at everyone and bakes cookies for new neighbors. Harmless, really. A few months ago, a guy who just moved in next door decided our side fence violated property codes. It didn't. It was already there when we bought the house and had been approved by the city years ago. Still, he filed a complaint. The inspector showed up, checked the paperwork, and confirmed the fence was 100% legal. No action needed. Neighbor was annoyed. He wanted it down to expand his yard access. So I looked into his property. Turns out the gate he installed on the other side of his yard, which he used to access the alley, cut directly through public utility space, and worse, he'd paved part of it. I sent a detailed complaint to the city, with photos and documentation. No drama, just facts. A month later, the city not only ordered him to remove the gate, but also fined him for unauthorized pavement over public land. He now has to access his backyard through the front of his house, walking all the way around. And our fence? Still standing, perfectly legal. Mom even planted flowers along it. Looks great. Alright guys, that's gonna do it for today. Thank you for watching. As always, I do appreciate it. If you enjoyed, be sure to hit that like button, drop a comment down below, and subscribe if you haven't already. So take care, stay tuned for more, and I'll see you in the next one.